Morning. I hope everyone is doing well on this Wednesday morning. On Wednesdays, we do foundation training, which is a strength-based training. On Mondays, we do more yoga and release through rolling. But today we're going to do foundation training, and we're going to start with a little bit of decompression. As life happens and gravity happens, we sink into ourselves. And this is an opportunity to kind of push back on that. So we're going to start in what is called a founder. So you're going to bring your hips about mat width. And we're working on training a little bit of internal rotation into our hips. When the hips can turn internally, the ball of the hip joint fits better into the acetabulum. So we're going to be training that. So parallel the outside edges of your feet. That may feel a little bit like an internal rotation, and it is a little bit of one. So parallel the outside edges of the feet, bring them about hip width apart or mat width apart. We're wider than about shoulder width. And we're going to just spend a few minutes doing some decompression breathing. So you're going to unlock your knees, find the anchor points on your feet. So really the joints of the big and the little toe and the heel. Find all three of those contact points. And as you press them into the mat, your arches should engage. That may cause a little bit of cramping if you're not used to that. So just back off and then try to go back into that. So our knees are unlocked. I want you to engage your abdominal muscles like you're going to support your back from the front. Think about pulling them into the spine to really support your spine, which brings your pelvis into more of a neutral position. Okay, we're going to bring our arms out and externally rotate them. So all of these positions are counter poses to how we spend our time the majority of the day. So our abdominals stay engaged. We're going to breathe wide into the rib cage. We want to, sometimes well, all the time, those ribs kind of get stuck in this narrow position. We want to breathe wide into them, front, like 360 wide. So we're going to pull your shoulders down, make the back of your neck long, release your jaw, have some space in your jaw. And we're going to just spend a few minutes here breathing and kind of pushing back on all the boundaries, the edges of your body. So as we do this, I want you to kind of think about finding tug of wars in the body. The principle of opposition in all things applies in the body as well, because every muscle has its opposition and together they find balance. So we don't want to have an imbalance by having one muscle stronger than the other. So we're working at finding the tug of wars in the body, and we're going to do that throughout this whole class. So inhale, 2, 3, or 4 seconds, hold it at the top, really feel all of the pushback, pushing the boundaries, all the edges, create more length in your spine, more width in your shoulders, and then exhale super slowly. Engage your abdominal muscles to really help with that exhale all the way. Okay, so now we're going to take this into what they call an integrated hinge. So we're checking in on the same points. Our feet are parallel. We find the arches of our feet by pressing through the edges of our feet. So we're pressing the joints of the toes and the heels, and the arches engage. Knees are unlocked. Engage your abdominal muscles. Now we're going to pull our hips back, but the spine stays straight. And then we're going to come back up. Really engage the feet as you do this. Spine stays long. Abdominal muscles stay engaged. And there's a lot of foot engagement as you do this. We're just moving at the hip. You'll feel your hamstrings engage. Today, we're going to work all of those muscles that don't typically get worked. And I want you to find all of the tug of wars that you can find. As your feet are pressing into the ground, your spine is lifting up away from the ground. Really lengthen through the top of the head. And let's do one more. Okay, this time we're going to do the same movement, but we're going to come into a narrow stance. So you're going to bring your toes together, but your heels are slightly separated. Again, we're training a little bit of internal rotation into the hips. But the same principle applies. We're grounding through the corners of our feet, pulling up on the arches. Our knees are unlocked. We're engaging our abdominal muscles. And we're going to, this time, we're working on a tug of war. I want you to create as much length across the chest, which is going to be very difficult because you're going to try and bring the edges of the inside edges of your hands together. So as you hinge back, keep your abdominal muscles engaged, try to bring your elbows together, call this serve a platter, and then come back up. Pull your shoulders wide and engage your abdominal muscles, lengthen the back of your neck, and hinge back again and bring the edges of your arms together while trying to maintain width across the chest. There's this tug of war. You're trying to open your shoulders at the same time as they're being internally rotated. So just really search for all of the tug of wars that you can find. Let's do one more. As you come up, your knees are still unlocked. You're not completely straightening the leg. Good. And then come back up. Okay. So this should all feel engaged and should definitely feel warm. Okay. So we're going to go ahead and do a split stance. This exercise is called a woodpecker. Now it's going to test your balance as well. So if you feel like you need a wall, then stand next to a wall. This is really great for the muscles in your feet because it will use all of the muscles on either side of the calf and the shin, clear down into the toes for balance. So so your front foot is flat on the floor and you're really anchoring through all the points of the front foot. But the back foot is lifted just about an inch or two off the ground. So both knees are unlocked. And again, we're engaging our abdominal muscles like you're going to support the back from the front. So try and get that set up. Now, the most common thing I see in this exercise is the hips aren't square. And the best way to square those hips are to take that back foot, take the heel and move it towards the side wall. Because I see a lot of this, but see my hips aren't square. So if I move my heel towards that outside wall, if my right leg is forward, then that left heel goes out towards the left. Then my hips are square, and that's what I want here. Okay, just this position will start to engage all of the back leg. So let's get started. We're going to hinge again. We're going to reach out as a counterbalance, and then we're going to come back up. I want you to think about using all the muscles in your feet as you do this. We're keeping a long spine. We're hinging at the hips, and you're engaging your abdominal muscles. Think about keeping your spine as long as you can. All the movement is coming from the hip. As you transfer the weight of your body into the front foot and then back again. Okay, then we're gonna do one more of these. And then we're gonna do what is called a woodpecker rotation. I think it's easier to start with your hands on your hip. We're gonna rotate into the front leg. All this movement is led by the hip. The spine is not rotating and it's staying long and straight. If you need a wall or a balance stick or something, then use it. We're just gonna do about 10 of these. As we do this, we are eccentrically loading that hip, which is so good for stabilizing the hip. They say the best way to prevent aging is to have good hip rotation. Okay, we're gonna do one more of those. The front knee is unlocked, so let's just keep checking in on all of the points. Okay, then bring your weight back and we're gonna trade legs. My left foot is forward now. Both knees are unlocked. The heel of my back foot is up about 1.5 inches, 2 inches. And I'm really grounding in through my front foot and the toe joints of the back foot. Just take a minute to get your balance. Make sure your hips are squared up. If you need to move that heel closer to the outside wall, then do it so that your hips are square. Okay, now we're going to hinge forward, spine is long, and we're just transferring the weight from 50-50 to 80-10 or 80-20. You can do math. As you do this, feel the muscles in your feet, feel what muscles engage up the back of your calf, and then check in on all the points. Are your shoulders down? Is the back of your neck long? Do you have space in your jaw? Together. Okay, and this time we're going to go back into it, but we're going to do a rotation. So we're going to turn towards the front hip. Bring your hands to your hips. Again, check in, your feet are grounded, your knees are unlocked, you're engaging your abdominal muscles, spine's long, back of the neck is long, your shoulders are down. You're gonna hinge and then rotate. Really feel the pressure through that big toe of the front foot. Really feel how that stretch is happening in the outside of the front hip as well. This is really good for balance and also for the hip. There's lots going on in this little exercise. One of the most important things I feel like to do every day is to do some twisting, because we just don't get that movement in our hips or our spine every day. So this is a really good preparation for the day. Okay, one more. Up through that front foot. Okay, go ahead and shake that out. We're doing a lot of this today. So if your toes are feeling a little worked already, just kind of stretch them out. We're going to go right back into that stance and we're going to do some archers. Okay, let's start with right foot forward again. Left foot is back. Our hips are squared so that heel is lined up so that we're not, this is the most common mistake. So we want to move that heel out. Both of our knees are engaged, rooted into your feet, our knees are unlocked. Engage your abdominal muscles, long spine. Okay, so we're going to start with a regular archer, which means you're going to bring the same hand that's forward as the foot that's forward. You're gonna take the other hand and place it into the palm. So I have my right foot forward, my right hand is open and my left thumb is in that space, in my palm. And I'm gonna, with my thumb glued to my arm, I am going to trace. Now the movement of this is coming all from the hip. My hand goes along, but the movement is coming from the hip. And I want as much space between my back elbow and the front fingers as possible. I'm gonna take a deep breath here. And then with my hip, I'm gonna come forward and trace back. Okay, we're gonna do 6 more of those. A little bit faster. Wide, high elbow, and then back. Allowing that hip to rotate, your foot is going to pivot a little bit. Wide, really spaced. This is really great because your that back arm, the scapula is retracting, which we really want. Really great scapular exercise. Also getting good hip stability. Okay, last one. Hey, you can shake that out for a second. We're going to go right back into it. Same foot forward. And we're going to do a reverse archer. It's a counter pose. We're going to turn the other direction. So we're setting up again, right foot forward, left foot back. Our hips are squared up. Knees are unlocked, long spine, shoulders are down. Okay, so this time we're going to hinge forward, bring the opposite arm forward, and the other thumb is going into that palm. And this time we're going to trace back across the arm. Same movement, we want as much length between our elbow and the tips of the front fingers. Take a deep breath here. And then come forward. This really does require balance. It requires a lot of hip stability. Again, as much length between your elbow and also good rib mobility. Really have to round in through that front foot because it is carrying the stability of your body right here. You've got 70 or 80% of your weight on that front foot. And last one. Good, and shake that out. You should feel some good, you're really working your shoulders in this, which is so great. Okay, we're going to do the other side. So left foot forward, right foot back. Again, we're squaring up our hips. You need to move that heel out, then do it. Square up your hips. Really find the corners of your feet and ground in through them. Engage your arches. Knees are unlocked. Spine is long. And we're going to, from here, same hand as foot, and the other thumb comes into the palm. And you're going to allow the foot to rotate as your hip opens. Again, length between your fingers and your elbow. And then you're going to rotate back. This movement is all hip driven. The spine is not turning, it is all hips. Just wide, deep breath, and then back. Do a couple more. Hips to open, but our front foot is not moving, just the back hip. Last one. Really engage your abdominal muscles. and shake that out. Hey, now we're gonna do the reverse archer. This is a good shoulder and arm workout today, as well as hips. It's really great. Okay, hips are squared. We're rounding into our feet. We've got our knees unlocked. Spine is long. This time we're going to pivot. This is all from the hips. Your hips are coming back. Sometimes it's a really common thing to do it from the spine, but your hips are going backwards. Your knee really is over your ankle. Okay, this time same arm as leg. And we're going to trace up. No, opposite. Take the opposite arm. Sorry about it. Opposite arm as leg. We're doing a reverse archer. We're going to do the counter pose of what we just did. And then same hand as forward foot. Traces up. Really wide. This is a great twist. This one, you are getting spinal rotation here. And you should definitely feel the rhomboids engage. Okay. Trace up and across the chest. Length from your elbow to your fingertips. And down. Make sure your feet are working and creating stability, as most of that weight is on the front foot. Let's do one more. Long. And then come back and shake that out. Your feet and your hips and your shoulders have definitely worked today. Okay, we're going to finish by doing the same thing that we just did. We're going to do a founder. So we're going to come into a wide stance. Let's, you know what, let's come back into a narrow stance. We're going to start that. And I want to do a shoulder trace just to move, just to get a little bit of counter movement in the shoulders. So toes together, heels are slightly separated, knees are unlocked, feet are really grounded in, spine is long, abdominal muscles are engaged. And I'm going to have you attach your thumbs to your hips and you're going to trace up the side of your body. And you're going to try and make your elbows, you don't want one forward or you want them even. So really engage your abdominal muscles. You're not allowing your pelvis to really rock forward here. You are hinged, but you're really supporting your spine with those abdominal muscles. Okay, so we're tracing up, our elbows are even. And we're going to come up to try to keep your shoulders down. This is one of those great tug of war moments. Shoulders down, but your thumbs are gonna come up to the armpit. I want you just to take a deep breath here. There's a lot going on. Elbows are pressing wide away from each other. And then you're going to rotate the shoulder, the palms face forward. Try to keep everything even. Trace across the shoulder. And again, really spend a minute here. Elbows are wide. Trace across the shoulder to the back of the neck. And you're going to bring your fingers together up in front of you. Take a deep breath here. Really press all of the edges of your body. This is a great place to decompress. We're going to fight against gravity here and really get as big and tall and wide as we can. And then we're going to bring your fingers back down, trace across the shoulders, elbows are wide, trace palms towards your body, and trace back down. Okay, that pretty much finished off all our shoulder muscles. They should feel warm. Okay, so let's finish now with a founder. Let's do a wide one. So we're going to come wider than hip or than mat width, but the outside edges of our feet are still parallel. Our knees are still unlocked. We're still engaging our abdominal muscles, spine is still long. Okay, breathe wide here. Shoulders down. And we're just going to do a few founders. But this time, as you're holding here, I want you to bring your hands up towards your above your forehead. Really engage your abdominal muscles and support your back. I want you to pull your feet in towards, so everything is, your fingers are pressing, especially your pinky finger pressing, and your feet are pulling in towards each other. This should make you shake. Your knees are unlocked, but you're really engaging your adductors. These muscles do not get worked enough, so we're pulling them in, and I'm back. We're going to do that one more time. Again, we're really grabbing the floor with our feet, with our toes. Knees are unlocked. Spine is long. We're supporting our back with our front abdominal muscles. And we're going to come forward. And we're going to bring our arms up to forehead height. And we're going to press in. Really engage your abdominal muscles. Get as big and tall as you possibly can. Pull those abdominal muscles in, and then as you come out, press. As you come up, press your feet away from each other and engage the opposite muscles. Okay, let's actually end on the floor. We've worked our hips a lot today, so I want you to come into a 90-90 position. Your front leg is coming straight out from your hip, and you have a 90-degree angle here. Now this position takes some practice. Most people, when they first go into it, have to lean way out because they just don't have the hip mobility. But we want hip mobility because that is such an important thing as we age. And then we have 90 degrees. So we're gonna just spend a minute here, pressing, kind of push up and lift forward. Feel that stretch in your front hip. And over time, you will get better at this, but it's really important to practice it. I remember the first time I tried this, I had such horrible cramps in my back glutes. But with time, and not even that much time, I got so much better at it. So I want you to try and pick the back heel up off the mat. You may not be able to, so maybe you just help it out and put it into internal rotation with some help. Even now, after if I run in the mornings and then I go to do this, my hip's like, and it may cramp. But it's such a great exercise. We want this control of our body. So just try a few times to pick that back heel up. Okay, now we're going to engage a different part of the hip because we want to get all of the hip. And we're going to try and pick that whole leg up, the back leg up. This is a shaky position. It engages a lot of the muscles all at the side of the leg, even into your obliques. If you can only hold it for a second, that's great. We're just making progress. So when I first started, I couldn't even pick this leg up. It took me some time of just practicing. You can support yourself with that arm on the other side. Okay. And now this is actually a little bit harder, but try to pick up the front leg. It's a shaky position. It doesn't have to look perfect. It's still bent, but it's not going to come up parallel to the floor. So you're just going to try picking that up and it will shake. That's great. When those muscles are shaking, then you're making neurological connection between your head and it's good. We want the neurological changes that are happening with those shaky muscles. Okay, so we're gonna do the other leg. So right foot forward, left foot is out to the side, both are in 90 degrees. One hip is always a little tighter than the other. So just spend a minute here and let it adapt to the new position you put it in. Try and press it to the floor and pull yourself forward over that leg. That's a really great stretch. Engage your abdominal muscles to help lengthen up your spine as you pull yourself forward. We don't think of our abdominal muscles as being support to the back, but they really are. And we so often neglect them. Okay, so this time we're going to try and pull up that back foot. And just pay attention, is it harder or easier than the other side? This side is my easier side, so it's nice. But that means I need to do the other side probably twice as much. You can pulse it. If you need help, then just get that hip used to going into that position by picking it up. Okay, now we're going to pick up the whole back leg and just do what you can. The first time you try this, your brain is just like, what do you want me to do? And it takes a little bit of time to make that neurological connection. But it's so good to be able to control the body in all the different ways. The body is a great tool, but it has to be taught and it has to be trained. Okay, so we're going to pick that right leg, or the front leg, which happens to be my right. It can be either one, whichever one is forward. For you, it's shaky. Don't know if you can see me shaking, but I am. I don't know that you ever get to the point where this one doesn't make you shake a little bit. And come back down. Hey, you can just windshield wiper them. Your hips, everything should be engaged and ready for the day. This will help with hip stability in everything that you're doing throughout the day. And then Friday, we will do just a meditation practice. If you have time, same link.